Something terrible happened here. This area, it feels wrong somehow. I sense an old suffering.
Members of the local coven were persecuted here. And worse.
Witches?
Salem's history with witches may have been distorted over the years, but some things are true. The witches of Salem did their best to thwart Shaw, but he rallied his congregation against them. The catalyst of the infamous Salem witch trials. When the coven called out in distress, it was Lilith and Sarah who came to their aid.
They came all the way from Transia, with the Abbey, to help a group they had never met?
You may not believe it, but I'm sure you would have done the same. Isn't that why the Sons are here today? Aside from that, your mother and Sarah both saw the signs of Chthon's influence. They knew there was more happening in Salem than the persecution of witches.
Chthon's corruption had taken root in the New World, just like the colonists themselves.
And while Lilith and Sarah were still preoccupied in Transia, they entrusted one of the moon seals to the Knights of Wondercore, who brought it to the Coven with the hope that its power would reinforce them enough to deal with Shaw.
But that is not what happened.
Unfortunately, no. When the plague came to Salem, the same one that afflicted your father, Shaw used it to further agitate his flock by placing the blame squarely on the Coven.
And the witches?
The mob was vicious. And the rest is history.
But what about the moon seal?
After the trials, the moon seal vanished along with Shaw. Without drawing any conclusions, I think we can both guess where it went.
If this was his church, then it is possible the seal is still here, or somewhere nearby.
You read my mind. Good hunting, dear.
Was this always here? I may have forgotten a few things, but I feel as if I would remember a decrepit church on the grounds.
You may not remember the structure, but maybe you've heard of the man responsible for it? Hiram Shaw? This was his house of worship, and like a great many things on the grounds, Sarah preferred to keep it in a sort of mystic quarantine. Even I haven't been inside.
Is that all she did while I slept? Seal things off for our protection?
She can be overzealous at times, but in this case, she was right to be wary.
So what dark secret does this place hold?
When Hiram Shaw first came to Salem, he was little more than a charlatan posing as a preacher. He managed to convince a few desperate souls to join his congregation, and with their help, he broke ground on this church. Whether it was coincidence or fate, in digging beneath the church, Shaw found something that would change the course of all of our lives. A long-forgotten page of the Darkhold.
If Shaw found a page of the Darkhold, it was because Chthon wanted it that way.
I tend to agree. That cursed book is always seeking out a way to return its master to power.
And a power-hungry preacher makes for the ideal messenger of darkness.
Yes, Shaw was an eager study, consumed almost immediately by the whisperings of Chthon and the Darkhold's power. Nearly overnight, the people of Salem, old and new, were at his threshold, waiting for the word. Need something, dear?
Tell me about Hiram Shaw.
By all accounts, Hiram Shaw was a desperate man. Desperate for power, wealth, influence, the usual desires that cloud men's minds. As I understand it, he was a largely unsuccessful minister before his arrival at Salem, traveling from place to place, swindling whatever followers he managed to gain before being run out of town. To think that a simple man like Shaw finding a piece of the Darkhold was enough to set all of this in motion, it puts things in perspective.
What do you know about my father?
That's not an easy question, dear. What would you like to know? Was he a good man? Yes, I think he was. Your mother loved him dearly, and he doted over her. I think for a time she forgot who she was, where she came from. And I don't mean that as a bad thing. She and Sarah both deserve to find something more than just another fight with Chthon. Lilith did. Sarah didn't. At least, not for a while longer still. I honestly think that's the only thing she ever had against him, blood or not. Until we speak again.
She believes in our purpose. This ward is not like anything I have seen on the grounds before.
And yet, it's familiar somehow.
Like the wards of protection that Wanda invoked to protect Dr. Strange's sanctum?
Very perceptive, dear. Maybe you should approach the good doctor and see if he has any insights. And Hunter, be circumspect. Dr. Strange is no fool.
Ah, Hunter, I was just admiring the collection. Someone spent a great deal of time piecing this library together. I hope you don't mind me, having a look around.
Of course not, Doctor. The library is an asset to us all.
I see I'm not the only one who's taken an interest in these works. You haven't been getting into anything precarious, I hope?
I have found something on the Abbey grounds that I think you should see.
Oh, sounds mysterious. By all means, lead the way. I typically avoid venturing this far from the Abbey, especially at night. It makes Tony nervous, you see. Not in the "I'm concerned about your personal well-being" doctor sense. There's an unsettling air about this place.
This church belonged to a preacher named Hiram Shaw. His influence turned Salem against its coven.
A charismatic personality and a fearful populace can do much evil together.
There was more to it than that.
Yes, I suspected as much. You were right to bring this to my attention, Hunter.
I thought it resembled one of your wards of protection.
There's a reason for that. It's the same magic Wanda invoked in her attempts to protect the Sanctum. But what is it that you're chasing out here? These wards aren't something to toy with.
I will not know for sure until I get past this. Is there any way to dispel it?
Unfortunately, no. What good would the wards of protection be if they were so easily broken? But I have been wrong before, at least recently. Do you have any suspicions as to who may have conjured this here?
Wanda spent a great deal of time out here, and she had the power.
She does have some experience with these spells, but why would she do that?
The only way I will know for sure is to find a way through to the other side.
I'll think on it and see if I can come up with some way to assist you, Hunter. For now, though, you'll have to be patient.
Next time Parker comes up with a plan,
Hunter, I may have found something of interest to you. The means to surmount that obstacle you were so interested in. The secret lies with the symbiote you recovered. If my suspicions are correct, it can be used to disrupt your troublesome ward in the same way that my own wards of protection fell at the Sanctum Sanctorum.
What do I have to do?
Without going off on an overly technical Starkian rant, the alien itself has a very unusual composition. Its seemingly gelatinous structure seems to interfere with the ward's resonance frequency when channeled with the appropriate magic.
You are not going to ask me to retrieve more of the creature, are you?
That shouldn't be necessary. Although a cooperative venom would be invaluable here, I think we can make do with what's left from before. I left a vial of the symbiote on my desk in the forge. If you're intent on removing the ward, take it with you. Discreetly.
Thank you for pursuing this further, Doctor. I doubt anyone else could have made this kind of discovery.
You're too kind, Hunter. Besides, I think our mutual friend has done quite well in guiding you so far.
We have many mutual friends, Doctor.
Oh, I think you know the one. But don't worry, your secret is safe with me.
Well, that is reassuring, Doctor.
And now I should be getting back to my work, but do be careful out there, Hunter, and don't forget about the vial on my desk.
Parker's debrief is going to be one for the ages.
Hey, I knew Peter was going to come through.
This is a distillate from the Venom symbiote. Strange thinks this will dispel the ward? The doctor crafted a strange brew that might bring down the ward.
maybe he learned something new while snooping around in my library.
If nothing else, he knows about you, Agatha, that you are helping me.
He's a very perceptive man. Perhaps it's for the best. There's no sense in worrying about it now, at any rate. Let's see if you can banish this ward.
The doctor came up with something, but I am not so sure.
Try Strange's concoction on the ward. Never a dull moment.
Strange has made something from a sample of Venom's symbiote. He thinks it may dispel the ward in the cave behind Shaw's church.
I thought he may be onto something. He's spent quite a lot of time in the library recently.
The doctor came up with something, but I am not so sure.
Try Strange's concoction on the ward.
These appear to be human bones.
I suspect we've finally found the last resting place of Hiram Shaw. Judging by the looks of this place, he was locked down here for quite some time. I can't say I pity him.
But how would he have ended up like this?
Someone sealed him in and made sure there was no chance of ever escaping.
Someone?
From what we've seen, I believe this was your mother's handiwork. She must have used the Darkhold page taken from Shaw to seal his fate. Literally. And I'm sure that means Sarah was at the very least aware of what Lilith had done.
Shaw should have been held accountable in public.
Perhaps. But neither of us is in a position to judge now.
After what he did to the Coven, I can see the difficulty in having a tempered response.
I can only imagine how angry Lilith and Sarah were when they finally arrived in Salem. In some ways, locking Shaw down here almost seems merciful.
I do not see the moon seal here.
You're right. I don't sense its power here either. Perhaps Shaw's study deserves a closer look. There must be something we've missed.
These drawings...
They're witch warrens, places where a witch might hide using magical means. Judging from the detail he put into these, Shaw must have studied the warrens for a long time before making his move.
He tortured them there.
Yes, I suspect so.
Why?
The witches wouldn't give up the moon seal. Our gift doomed the Salem Coven to an unimaginable fate. These drawings may yet be useful. I will bring them back to the library for further study. Meet me there tomorrow night.
How long did the Salem witches hide here before meeting their end?
I've been trying to puzzle together where the Salem Coven hid the moon seal from Shaw.
Have you discovered something?
Shaw's drawings. He was looking for the Salem witches who had gone into hiding.
And we know that he found them.
But they told him nothing. And where he failed, we may still find the answers we need.
I do not follow.
We're going to make a magical phone call. Find each witch warren using Shaw's maps, and collect a sample of soil from each. Soil stained with a witch's lifeblood is a powerful magical catalyst. It may be enough. Study Shaw's maps and bring back a sample of soil from each witch warren. That soil may be potent enough to commune with the Salem witches.
Witch sign. This must be a warren. The soil Agatha wants must be nearby. This is one of the witch warrens. What terrible fate did this witch suffer? Witch sign. This must be a warren. The soil Agatha wants must be nearby. This place resembles one of Shaw's drawings. You are not forgotten. Witch sign. This must be a warren. The soil Agatha wants must be nearby. What does Agatha want with this soil? I have collected the soil you asked for, but you never told me why we are doing this.
Soil stained with a witch's blood is potent stuff. In the wrong hands, it can be very dangerous. In the right hands, well, I just hope it's potent enough.
This is going to help us find the moon seal?
The Salem Coven stashed it away somewhere safe. I'm thinking the best way to find out where it is to ask them directly. Meet me at the elemental altar.
What is all this?
Everyone knows you can't commune with the spirits without plenty of candles, dear. Witchcraft 101. I would stand back if I were you.
I expected a solemn ritual, but I think you are enjoying this.
I haven't been part of a seance in years, and look, it's working.
Is that a tree?
That's not just any tree. It's the hanging tree. Those old girls hid the moon seal in plain sight. Shaw would have never suspected the seal was hidden in the very place he murdered his enemies.
Where might I find this hanging tree?
In the time of the Salem Coven, it was not far from Shaw's church. The Abbey's magic tends to rearrange things, though. You may have to explore in order to find it.
Intriguing. This must be the hanging tree. How many innocents died under these branches? The gods are fickle.
In the hands of the Knights of Wundagore, to the witches of Salem, that seal has covered quite a bit of ground. Despite Shaw's evil, the Coven protected it to the last. We've seen Cathan's corruption spreading on the outskirts of the grounds. Take this seal to the reflecting pool. Your next trial waits for you there.